Our chat's great.
Hiya, this is Kitten Features, and you're listening to Show X Live with Ken in the student accommodation all the way in Scotland. Wait, that was years ago. You're listening to Show X Live with your favorite Scotsman Ken, currently residing in the US of A, and Wayne, mostly from Colorado.
Hey, wait a second. I'm on the show too, and I don't get any billing at all? Well, I know how to solve this. Soldater, Fremad, March! You're listening to Show X with our favorite Scotsman Ken, our child of the corn Wayne, currently living in Colorado, and Todd, who now has an army of angry Norwegians at his back. Enjoy the show!
Alrighty. Now, granted, I'm going to this and you're going to see the big blank space that is Ken until he shows up here in 10 or 15 minutes, as he has said.
Well, you know, the schedule of a doctor, professor, rear admiral, Jedi master is a busy one,
right?
So,
no, he is currently out. Sending, I think, Kitten Features on her way safely, and so precedence over our discussions.
Oh, hey, absolutely.
But, hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's just after 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT on this Sunday, the 20th of December, 2020. We are almost out of here, people. 2020 is about to wrap up. Please don't take that as a sign that it's suddenly going to be different next year. You got to make it that way. So careful with your memes.
The 2021 dumpster fire is about to begin.
But with that said, hey, we are here today to talk a little bit about some of the things that any of us may have found throughout this year, or actually any time, that kind of caught us off guard when it comes to the geekery that we experience and love. Things that surprised us, where we went into it really not that sure, not that aware, and then came out of it with love. And so we're going to get into some of those kind of things that we found surprising as we kind of get to the end of the year here. As well, though, since, again, Ked's not here, and Todd and I have been playing Cyberpunk and other things, why not Gush? But, no, to kick things off for me, actually, I was going to say, because I was scrolling through things, looking at something, trying to remind myself of some of the stuff that's been surprising me. And maybe that, now that I say that, I will save that. I will save that for the show. For Ken.
Yeah, no, well, so I'll tell you what, I'll do this one as an example, and then we'll revisit it when Ken is here.
Okay.
But I do not like Firefly, the series.
Okay.
And so when I watched the Serenity movie, I expected to not like it.
Interesting.
As well. I actually really do.
Interesting.
I think the Serenity movie is a fun little jaunt.
Okay.
It's like a single episode. Those people in that universe, like I just liked it.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting to me, Todd, just because I know, yes, I am on the side of I absolutely love Firefly and Serenity, right? I do. And I know lots of people who did not care for Firefly. And my normal snarky response is, and you're wrong, but it's interesting that I don't know how many people, if any, I've seen or talked to who have made that assertion that they were able to watch Serenity while not really enjoying Firefly. And I guess knowing that, though,
I thought Serenity was real fun. Thought it was a fun little flick.
And
I watched it again. I watched it again within the last 3 weeks or so and went, yep, this is still a fun little movie.
Okay. So I do have a question about that, though, because quotes come to mind. I'm just like, they killed me, Mal. They killed me.
Mal, he killed me with his own sword.
That knowing, accepting. By the way,
if he was such a god, I am gonna crap on that.
Okay, yeah.
For a second, like if he was such a god coder, he would have made that thing shut down after playing the message once,
so that it wouldn't reveal anything.
Yeah. I realized that you could never guarantee that the right person would be the first person, but you also, if you're that guy, I am a leaf on the wind.
His whole
Watch how I soar. By the way, a lead leaf on the wind. But
no, you're right. Mr. Universe was so paranoid about the man. It does make sense that he would have done something else to at least prepare, or something what the bot would have had seen Mal before, or someone from the thing, and thus could have had enough AI to recognize Mal again before saying something. I agree. No, but my question to you is going to be accepting and not asking you to suddenly change your opinion of Firefly the series. Having at least watched to some degree Firefly, was the knowledge of the characters that you get from Firefly helpful in your experience of Serenity?
Only tangentially.
Okay.
Yeah, only tangentially. Like, I don't know Firefly well enough to have the encyclopedic knowledge of it that I do, say, Star Wars or the good Star Trek films. So, like, I can't say for absolute certain. I assumed, wrongly, I might add, that the agent in Serenity was the same dude that was left in the ship in the Firefly series, like one of the last episodes. Like, they ran into a guy that was kind of the same archetype of character, and I just assumed it was the same dude.
Which I did too, having been a fan.
Yeah. And for a while, I thought it was the same actor. Turns out to not have been, of course. But yeah, I thought it was the same guy. I thought it was supposed to be the same guy. Like, this guy, the antagonist in Serenity, is after them so much, not because this is a big deal to the Alliance, but because he's got a personal grudge. Right? And, of course, obviously that's not true, because it's not the same character at all. But, yeah, that's for a long time I thought that was the case.
Yeah, I did too, actually. And it took me having to think through it a few times and look things up to make it sure, because I had done it where I'd watched the whole series, right? And then there was the delay before the movie came out, and I didn't do the thing where I went and binged it again. I rarely go back and consume something again just to. Like, I have consumed Firefly multiple times, but I didn't do it like to lead up to Serenity. So when I watched Serenity, it's been enough time since I'd seen it that I had made almost all of the same assumptions you did, Todd, that I came into it like, wait, but I thought, and
wasn't he left in a ship without like life support or something?
All right, we should be back up.
We were quick hacked.
Yeah, quick act or some. We were talking about something that the powers that be don't want us to discuss.
Right, trust and safety got after us. You're gonna get an email that says we're banned.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, no, sorry about
because I said cock and balls on a girl.
Hey,
Spencer.
So hopefully things are solid again. I don't know what that was. I saw it flash on the screen and then it said reconnecting. So that was
the old internet hiccup.
Yeah, something wasn't happy with that, but hopefully things will be smooth today. So yeah, let me know, my normal everybody out there, by the way, problematically, like Hando and others and Iona such who pay attention to the details behind the nonsense we say, about the quality of the show, because I have upgraded my hardware in my quest to make all things show better and maybe put way too much invested more than is reasonable for
nonsense
for a single piece of hardware.
Okay, look, this is life advice to the chat. It is okay to have a hobby that is your main hobby that you choose to spend a responsible but absurd amount of money on.
That's a good balanced way to say that.
Well, I mean, I feel bad talking about like buying PC hardware and stuff because I'm looking at two monitors that I didn't pay for, and I have a graphics card that
you're in a wonderful position where you have the opportunity to benefit your hobby and joy while using it in a way that is meant to benefit work and does that as well. And so
Sure, absolutely.
there's nothing to feel bad about. No, for me, the come to Jesus essentially or whatever, right, that I had while spending the money and the process of like putting it all in and investing it kind of thing is that it's me realizing that I can afford it.
Yes.
And part of it was that, and I am on track to have all of my bills and everything managed and all that, where I am being a very actually responsible adult while also being less responsible.
Indulging.
Thank you. Indulging.
It's okay to indulge. Sir Pencer, he bought the graphics card of Total Devastation. That is what he bought. That is what he's not going to tell you that. I will.
Actually, so
He
no,
bought the graphics card
the
of
reason
Total
I
Devastation.
the reason I was holding back is I was
It was a
looking
good
for.
show, by the way.
Well, no, it is
was
part
good.
of because I'm hoping the hiccups won't happen because I'm now running all of our encoding off the new card where I was having to jump it between software mode for CPU usage versus GPU usage because when I would overdo the GPU to keep a clean stream, if I opened up a window, it would all hiccup and such. So I'm trying to like also
Unit
benefit.
Unit Zero in the
Where's
chat.
my
I also
video?
disagree. You absolutely can be married and have
Oh, wait, is that it?
and have your hobby too. It's about not settling early and finding that person out there, he, she, whichever, that's going to understand, or understand is the best word. Understand what your primary hobby is, and within that understanding, accept the fact that you are going to spend money on it. Now, again, it also depends on your personal financial situation. So again, when I said responsible but absurd, I mean it. Like, you can't choose, and this is the thing with going into casinos during the week, because it's so sad.
Oh, when you start seeing all the people that are just always there,
that are playing with their rent money.
Yeah.
Like I was in the Bay 101 club in San Jose. This is like 15 years ago, right? Playing limit Texas Hold'em poker, and this kid is complaining because he's not going to be able to make rent, and he's just feeding me money. It's
like playing at the table with you. Saying this,
you're either lying and trying to get me to feel sorry for you so that you can dupe me out of some cash, but I'm too good at math for that. or you're telling the truth and you actually are playing with your rent money, and I don't know what you're going to do in 2 weeks.
Hey there, Ken.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Show X proudly presents to you our resident doctor, professor, researcher, rear admiral, Jedi master, and caretaker of Grogu, as it turns out, Dr. Keith Esquire. Yeah.
Hey, welcome. To add to it, and I don't know if this will come across well because it's a video on a video thing, and my new monitor setup or screen setup might not work right, but I'm going to try to share a video, and it's going to have some overlap because my screen. Oh no, I don't think it's actually going to come through because it's a video player. So, or wait, why is that not coming through? Let's see. I can see the edge of it, but not the whole thing.
I'm very sorry for being late, folks. Ken Features is visiting family over the holidays, so I had to make sure she got off safely. And but I'm here now, and I'm ready, and I'm excited.
Yeah, that's why.
And I'm sorry to have missed you guys in the first 15 minutes of the show, though.
Oh,
okay. It's all good. It's all good. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Fix.
Honestly, we were going to talk about Cyberpunk, and then I gave a example of what the show topic was today, and then we got on a tangent from our tangent that is actually what the show is about. So sort of accidentally
I thought you went tangent away from Cyberpunk, though. I thought that you guys would be tangenting into Cyberpunk.
We were going to do Cyberpunk, and I was all down for it.
About it while you were here, and then that didn't happen.
So are you both still playing?
Is Wayne filming his own unboxing of his Surd graphics card?
Yes, this is what this is.
Beautiful.
So I was going to share this. This is why I said I wasn't trying to limit the conversation. I was mostly just going to show it while talking around it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I do love how graphics card companies now make your multiple hundred, if not $1,000 purchase feel like your undercarriage is getting a little house your father.
They give it some love.
I do like that.
Well, so in the big thing I say,
Apple, right? We can thank Apple for making packaging nice these days.
Well, the funny thing, this thing is seriously heavy. Like, I remark on the weight of it several times because I'm holding it just like, I think I could get a workout with this thing. Like, seriously curling it. But when I was I was showing the heft of it, but it's hard to like share how thick, how big this thing literally is.
It looks ginormous.
It is. And so I eventually like pull it out of package. I do the little like, oh, here's everything, and talk about just because I got an Asus Tough version of it. And it takes the dual 8-pin, all that. Thankfully, it's not the reference, so it doesn't anything new or weird that way. But I have a picture of it compared to my card that I was replacing it with.
3 fans.
And
that's that thing is enormous.
It covers all the back of the motherboard, like all the I/O and stuff that's on the side, like your SATA connectors.
H2 of graphics cards.
Yes, and some, and so it's a beast. Holy cow! Yeah. So compared to, let's see, what's a good shot of it? Compared to my 1080 that it replaced from the same company, also Asus, and I don't know if this will show as well, but I'll go back to our shot. I was thinking I might talk something about the video of it. I was playing with some stuff, but to show just on camera, like the thickness difference.
You have to slide the
girth of the graphics card.
Left. There it is.
Yeah. So it is a beast. Anyhow. So yeah, I picked up a 3090 at the candy store because I got a call from my inside source who works there, a message saying, we got a whole bunch of video cards in today. And so I was at work and did the thing like last time I tried to do this, I ran down there, took me about 15 to 20 minutes to go all the way down, but from desk to like front door there, I made haste. And the last time I'd gone, by the time I walked in the door 15 minutes after the store opened, all of the content was spoken for. They'd done vouchers for every card they had gotten in. And I was like, how? And I was told that basically the line had been out front of the store before it even started, before they'd opened, and has been like that for weeks, essentially, where every day people are lining up just to see if something comes in. And so
that's not really surprising, to be honest. I mean, from what I've been seeing on Reddit and everything, people are still going mad for this.
Yeah.
Especially with the Christmas craze, right?
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't help that it's holidays, and it's kind of what we were discussing last week a little bit, the scarcity of all hardware. Because even with the consoles and such, that people can't. If you didn't get them on the launch, you basically can't get them with all the new stuff. So I got in there, and there was a big line again, not quite as large as I'd heard prior, because one, it was snowing out, maybe, less people sitting outside. And they got a large shipment in, because the previous time I'd gone in, when I got in there was one, I think, 1660 Ti on the shelf, and one 2080 Super. And that was it. That was on the shelf still, right? And I watched the guy grab the 2080 Super like, yep, I'm getting this. Because there's that much desire for new hardware. And
I
so
wonder
I
how
got
many
it.
people are either upgrading by the fact they don't have a choice and that's all that's there, or downgrading for the same reason.
It's a hard sell. Hard to say. I don't know what people are doing. I know my own case, right? And I will admit there was a person in line just behind me, I think, who I kind of wanted to punch in the face, but I couldn't fault either because he said he was there to try to get another 3080. I think he was saying, or such that he had a 3070 or something already at home. That like, oh yeah, no, I have one of these. I'm just here to get I want to get a 3080. And I was like, another? But you have one. So are you just someone who's going to scalp and sell? That's my first thought. Like, if you already have one, then what the heck, right?
Well, he's willing to talk about it so openly. You should have just asked the guy. So are you going to be a douchebag and try to sell it on?
I don't know, right? It just caught me like, why are you here taking the line spot from someone else?
How many PS5s have you sold on eBay?
Right? Which I can't.
It's the when did you stop beating your wife question of tech?
Ooh, right? Oh man. So anyhow, went in line, got it.
I'll beat my wife.
Yeah, right. Friend of the show, El Campo, because it's he showed up as well because he also gets the same insight. Although he was across town in Lakewood, dropping off the wife's car to get maintenance, and so he was like, I'm taking an Uber. I'll be there in a minute, right? And he showed up. So he showed up and got in line, like actually probably a good dozen people behind me, and went through. And then one of the guys at the store, and it made sense. I give Micro Center a lot of credit for how they handled it. Because people who were out front prior to opening, they gave vouchers for the order they were for the specific card they were there to get. And they had 3070s, 3080s, and 3090s that all came in together. So, and a lot, apparently. And so they get through. And so then, once everyone was in line, there were people with vouchers. And then also there was just people who got in line now as it formed. So the people who had vouchers were guaranteed a card. Then after that, they started coming through with vouchers again for those limited cards. There's basically the 3080s, 3090s. And asked people in the order they were in line, what card are you here for? And then they'd give them a voucher accordingly so they could say when they finally got to the point of saying, we are out of 3080s. They have all been spoken for. Because they know that's the prime ticket one that everybody wants. And so they did that, and man, like four or five people in front of me, they were like, that's it, no more 3080s. And so then they came through the rest of the line like, what are you here for? I was like, well, I heard you're out of 3080s. Listen to that. Probably a 3070 because that's a $500 card. It is a huge upgrade from my 1080. I'll get ray tracing, all the good things, right? Makes sense. Yep. Sounds sound. It's a good decision.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting in line and you get closer and closer and rolling over the options in head. Basically, there's like two brands of 3070s they have. Which brand do I want? The Asus, or I forget what the other brand was, right? I don't know. I'm trying to look online, like which one has which ports. I want a card that has dual HDMI 2.1 instead of just display ports and one HDMI 2.1 because eventually I want like 4K monitors that can do the full gaming speed. So I was like, I know what I want, so we'll see. And then going into that, so these are things, I think this is on subject a little bit because things I wasn't sure I'd want and then or know and love and now. But
it's on topic.
So got to literally the front of the line, and I'm the next guy in. And as I'm doing, the guy in front of me, this is like the extra little thing that probably pushed me over the edge. Probably, well, that and Campo's presence.
I was gonna say
the guy in front was like, "Oh yeah, 3070." And he's like, "But what's that 3080 in the case there?" And the guy was like, "Well, there's vouchers for everything," but I heard someone might have actually either returned or didn't have the voucher or something where there may be another 3080 coming back from the cage.
Oh.
And the guy was like, well, then I want that. And gal or whoever's helping was like, let me go ask manager, checked. And sure enough, he came back and got one that was brought back. And so it was like, I turned to him and said, look at you with the golden ticket. He was expecting to buy the 3070 and then was just offered the opportunity for this suddenly repurposed or reavailable 3080, the person in front of me.
Yep.
And so that was like this extra like, oh, you kidding me? And I looked at the shelf and there was still a hefty number of 3070s. Like, well, I'm glad to at least see for the first time in months, like graphics cards on the shelf. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But then, as there's like the green boxes for the Asus and the, I forget, like darker box of the other brand ones of 3070s there are these two green boxes up on the top shelf in the left corner. Just sitting there, these two boxes. And suddenly I look over and I see like, oh, you did say there's a couple 3090s, didn't you? I mean, those are
Oh, no way.
dumb cards, and nobody needs one of those.
Yeah, like that's
Because
literally for graphical
They
processing. That doesn't even help with
literally
games.
don't do any gaming past unless you're trying to do 8K or silly stuff in 4K. Even the delta between what you get out of a 3080 and a 3090 is so minuscule.
Yeah.
A 3090 is just a dumb purchase.
Yeah.
I don't know why
absolutely.
anyone would
Glad
buy
we're-
one.
Yeah,
And
that'd be
there's two of them
ridiculous.
sitting
No,
there, and I can't get the 3080 I really want because they're gone. And I get a 3070, and I'll just be camping out in line in February for the 3080 Ti's when they come out. And that's like 2 days I'm going to miss work sitting in a tent in the cold to get a 3080 Ti that's going to have 20 gigs of memory and otherwise is exactly the same thing as a 3090 with just not the SLI bridge and missing 4 gigs of memory for about $500 less than a 3090. So it totally makes sense. I should just wait till February.
It does.
And
Yeah,
I can get a
that's a sensible thing to
3070
do.
and I could turn around and resell the 3070, or I could put the 3070 in my behind the television computer for VR. So many things
That'd
I
be
could do
great.
if
Yeah,
that was
it's
the
a
case,
great
right?
idea.
Could do that. And buying the two of those, like a 3080 Ti and a 3070, would be still the same price or less than a 3090. So 3090 is just dumb.
Yeah, that would be just ridiculous. Who would possibly think of doing that?
See,
But-
you could buy the Porsche 911. You could buy the Porsche 911, but let's be real. You're just going to be in line in February to buy a Ferrari 458 anyway,
Right?
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 Right? So you might as well buy the his and her Nissan GTRs,
It's like,
right?
so
Oh, weak man. You weak man. Where's
So-
your willpower?
No.
so
no.
I talked to the guy and said,
Bad,
Oh.
I will get the
bad
3090.
master.
And then I got and he gave me the voucher that basically said, yep, 3090 is yours. Go to it'll be in the cage. Go to cashier whenever you want, and it's yours. You can look around the store. What that did get me to do is not, like, because, I mean, that was my upgrade, or what is it, not instinctual, where I gave into the whim, but in a way different than others, because I was going to buy something. Impulse, thank you. That was my impulse upgrade versus impulse buy.
Yeah.
And it kept me from instead also impulse buying a Quest 2 and the Wi-Fi 6 AP I would need to add to my network in order to use that wirelessly. So I saved money, really, by not feeling the need to buy the Quest 2 and the $130 Wi-Fi 6 adapter for my Unify hardware by getting the 3090 overclock edition
of
Asus
good.
24 gig
Right.
GDRX
You
memory.
got the best graphics card on the market and saved money doing so.
You know,
Good for you.
I mean, what it's going to do is
Good.
it's going to keep me from going out and spending 2 days. So I actually did the math on it. 2 days of me not working and potentially taking PTO to sit out and to guarantee a 3080 Ti launch
Yeah, right.
was going to cost me a good portion of the cost of the card.
Yep.
Also, I now, I'm trying to think the other things I was doing with it. In addition, I justify whatever, make myself feel better about it because I just got the notice from my company in the mail that they are shipping me my latest service award package.
Yes, because you would be a 20. You have 20 in the book. I meant to say congratulations to you.
So
Congratulations.
officially,
during the pre-show, but I'll do it. But I'll do it now. Also, congratulations on 20 years.
officially
Absolutely.
beginning of next month will be when it hits,
Yep.
but I will be at 20 years with my company. And while they will not give me a gold watch, I was able to get myself some green silicon. And, we'll pick the, Suve kit or whatever I might be able to get from the package. So that was another piece. Plus, it's the end of the year, and I cashing out all my extra holidays, things like that. I basically, after the next check, will pay for it off, pay cash on it, and done. Yeah, so it's all I can manage it. It's just also realizing that when the warmth of the credit card when you pull it out of the machine, proportional to how much just went on it, it was noticeable. So,
oh yeah.
Anyhow,
burn your fingers a little bit.
I mean,
it's hot,
but it's cold out here, so it's kind of warm. So appreciating everyone's conversation in the chat about as I drew this on far longer than it probably needed to be.
This half hour of really bad financial advice brought to you by H&R Blockhead.
At least
H&R Blockhead.
Up front.
It's dumb financial decision.
At least I up front told everybody it's not a wise decision when it comes to finances, and Ken agreed. So, but yes, thank you, Legend. Yes, I got 3080 or 3090.
It's all relative. I just wanted to tease a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's all good. And
all relative.
Well, and I can make it sound even worse. And yes, Sir Pencer, that is the 3090, because here is the size of the box compared to the head, right? It's
good grief.
Oh my god,
so huge.
It is.
What did El Campo get? We didn't hear what El Campo got.
The same.
Oh yeah, what did El Campo get?
So that's the problem, right? Influence. Campo, I talked to him in line, and I saw him mulling over the same thing. So we.
Oh my god. You guys should never go to the candy store together.
No, we should not. We absolutely should not.
Or a casino, or a strip club, or brothel, or a car dealership.
I was in line, and there were just people all in front of me. And it's funny because the guy in front of me specifically, when they said they were out of 3080s, he left line. And then, Camp and I, we molded over for some time. And then afterwards, the worst part, there you go, everybody. This is Campo and I sharing in our joy as we're both holding these massive boxes.
I love that picture with the frantic eyes. The frantic eyes. A mix of glee for getting the card with the realization of how much money you just put on a credit card.
That was still price. That was still.
It's the adrenaline rush of what the wife is going to do when you get home.
I'm sorry, cats.
You're in trouble.
Sorry, cats. I'm not buying you as much soft food next month. Oh yeah. So.
That's fantastic.
So as I often say, don't be me, anybody, or only be me if you can actually afford to be me.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the card itself a little bit. Tell us your experience. I think you've got all plugged in now and everything.
Well, mostly. I was telling Todd in the pre-show, the challenge is only half of my screen on my big 56-inch 4K monitor here is actually working right now. And that's because the new card is a 3 DisplayPort to HDMI 2.1, and my monitor is a 2 DVI input, where it requires a separate DVI for each half of the screen because old school 4K. And I have one because I'd run into this in the past when I was doing triple monitor displays way back, that to do DVI at a higher resolution, a higher refresh, you need active dual link DVI, which takes an adapter from DisplayPort that requires USB power and costs about $120. And back in the day, that was actually the most cost-effective way for me to get newer graphics cards to work on older monitors versus having to upgrade a monitor. And so I still have that card, and it works, and that's why half of my screen is visible. The other half does not, and I have a whole bunch of these just straight DisplayPort to DVI connectors, but they can't do the bandwidth. And so without that active link, they don't work. And so I tried plugging them in, and it saw a monitor existed, but would not let me push an image. So I found my same one on Amazon for $115 today instead of the old 130. But also found a Dell branded active display one for about $50 that should arrive in the mail on Tuesday. And so hopefully
I was expecting you to say that you need to get a new monitor now, and
I do.
You were going to tell us that we dropped another $600, $700, $800, $2,000 on.
The only thing keeping me from paying or buying the new monitor is that it doesn't exist, because actual HDMI 2.1 monitors that can do the full bandwidth have not been produced yet. They're all on that cusp. Everyone's announced them, and I think ASUS actually may be the first company to provide one. And they're supposed to have like a 27, 32, and 43 inch, I think, versions that are all like 144 hertz, 4K, HDR10 monitors is what I'm waiting for. That will be a single cord. And so, because 2.1, basically the big difference, thank you, Sir Spencer, for asking, is the bandwidth available. DisplayPort, what is it, 1.4A, the highest one or whatever DisplayPort, has like a 40 gigabit bandwidth, and very few things are actually running it. HDMI has an 18 gig bandwidth, and HDMI 2.1, or so HDMI 2.0 has a 1.8, or 18, sorry, and HDMI 2.1 has a 48 gig bandwidth, which allows up to 8K 60 hertz gaming, depending on your color depth. And so basically getting 2.1 allows me to run the full 4K, full HDR, full everything without compromise in the hardware. And it's just the bandwidth of the connection. And so that's what I've been waiting for, because people have made 4K gaming monitors, but they either have to sacrifice color depth or they have to sacrifice chroma subsampling, which can look fine in games, but text and things like that start to look horrible. And you can start seeing the color aberrations that happen when you're trying to push all of that. So it limits whether you can get the clean, true 4K signal. Hopefully that wasn't too much, spec and geek talk to everybody for what motivates me for the specific decisions I make. But I am basically, trying to build something out that future-proofs all that.
At least you put thought into it.
Lots.
Yeah.
So honestly, it's the funny thing. I always tell people my impulse buying is not like, oh, shiny, I've never seen that before. It looks neat. I should buy that. Mine is all, I knew about this when it was in production because I check everything. And, when it finally hits a threshold.
Yourself. Well, it's because you're a logical person. You need to come up with some kind of logical argument to yourself. So it takes months of planning in order to have your impulse buy.
Indeed.
So, my
I'm
piece
of relying, sorry, just to sort of bookend this conversation, I'm going to be relying a lot on Linus Tech Tips because I noticed that they do a lot of builds with the business. With the business motherboards, like the blah, blah, blah B motherboards.
Yep.
And that's probably what I'm going to end up having to buy.
Okay.
Because I'm obviously going to buy my new PC on my personal development budget for 2021, and like if I space it out, like I could spend the whole personal development budget on a PC, which would be like just absurd terabytes of hard disk space and like 128 gigs of RAM, like just these numbers that
is so unnecessary.
That don't make sense.
It just depends on what you're doing, right? It just depends. Hey, if nothing else, my 3090 should help video rendering and processing so much better now. And like
it's like buying a sports car with 2 seats, and you're like, great, this is good for me and my wife, but I could get 4 seats or 8 seats. Or 16 seats.
Yeah. and take everybody.
That'll never happen, but I could do it. And
pay the same price for a school bus.
Hey, but like I said, mine was also with the ideas, one, for the quality of the show, because actually I've also noticed, oddly enough, this camera, not to jinx it, that I've been moved to the GoPro, hasn't been glitching today, which is interesting.
Right.
And also replacing that for my monitor setup, I took out a second video card because I had an older one that was running my side monitor, so all my power from the gaming one was on the one. So I've gone from having 2 cards that are pulling more power out of the power supply to one. It's like I had lots of conversation decisions as to what I did. Regardless, that's something, to tie it back into the title of the show, that I have found that I'm starting to love and think about. And the gaming performance, I can't speak to fully because I probably need the full thing set up. And I'm not getting like the performance a lot of people would maybe expect because of what I play. League of Legends, solid 200 something frames per second, no problem. Full on. Granted, my 1080 could do that. But like Cyberpunk, the big difference is I'm going, instead of playing at about 40 to 50 frames per second without all the bells and whistles on, Now it's all on along with ultra settings on RTX, so ray tracing on full, and it's keeping at like 45 frames per second constantly.
That's gotta look absolutely gorgeous. Ken, one of the things we talked about during the pre-show that I just want to catch you up on is that the 1.05 hotfix for Cyberpunk dropped yesterday or on Friday, and they took out the AVX requirement. So,
good, finally.
For all of you people out there that, like me, are running on a processor from the pre-Cambrian era, you do not have to worry about now instruction incompatibilities between your processor and the game, so you can play it. And I will say this: in the little bit that I was playing it post-patch, my processor is not getting nearly as murdered as it used to be.
That's so good.
That's a good thing.
That's did more than just
in such a short period of time.
Mm-hmm. Well, and give it credit to the company for hearing what the community had done to fix it and incorporating it into their base, strategy. That they fix it themselves, so no longer hack. Here you go.
Yeah. And from what I understand, the technical bit behind that is it's a compiler option as to whether or not you need AVX or not. And so I imagine it was just as simple that in the 1.05 build, a branch of their code base, they just unchecked that button and compiled it. Right? Like the easiest zero-line fix in the world.
Yes. Oh, man. No, so, yeah.
Anyway.
All right. So, the discussion today is, that and the other one, Call of Duty Warzone, and I'm also working on the stream of that, where I'm able to now stream all of it through NVEC because of the extra resource. So I'm trying to optimize so that my gaming streams will look better as well. And I feel compelled now to maybe do more content creation, having the hardware to push behind it, as well as I've updated the voice suppression we're now using is now the new NVIDIA broadcast versus the old voice that was not meant to run on a 1080. And so hopefully we sound better. Hopefully the stream is just cleaner, minus that hiccup where the whole thing flashed. So I am hoping the investment in the hardware will come out.
Fingers crossed.
I had a random thing that did come up. The last thing I'll say on it is to Band-Aid put solve on the credit card. Was like, maybe I should do a stream that it was like who said it? Someone said like the go fund my impulse.
Yes.
That is a stream for people to donate where I will play the games they choose or things like that and show off whatever such to help minimize the the impact of
a terrible idea.
Yep. That sounds perfect.
There's a subreddit called r/don'tfundme, and it's filled with people doing stuff like that. It's like, I really want to, I want to live my dream and get this motorbike that I've always wanted since I was a little kid, and it's $70,000. If you can. It's like,
Ken, you've inspired me actually. I'm gonna do on stream a fundraiser where I'm going to trade options on Robinhood in real time on the stream, and you can donate money
for your investments.
Like you donate money, and then I'll buy the option that you tell me in the donation.
Oh man,
for it'd be like crowdsourced Wall Street bets.
Yeah.
By the way, you should look that up on YouTube. Some of the stuff that those people do are absolutely insane. And one of the reasons why I will never be rich, but also why I will never be destitute, because I can't do those things.
Yes.
I've seen them do it where they're saying they dropped 5K for the lols on some random stock, and whether it goes up or down, nobody knows, and it is just gambling for the sake. Yeah, it's madness.
I am much more a fan of the streams of people like I will give a shout out, not that he'd ever find us, but like Mr. Beast on Twitch and YouTube and such. How will someone who has made a ton of money doing other things? I forget the other gentleman that does it that I've watched. When they do more of I'm dropping all this money on the lowest streamer of a game I love. I'm going to drop a $5,000 donation just to watch them like blow their minds, and how many people it changes like so many things of like stress in their life at that moment. Like, because for me, that's like heartfelt content.
The people that'll do 100 gifted subs in a block, like I've seen that happen a couple of times while I was watching Twitch. That is really kind of cool. I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyhow, so
we have a topic for this week.
Things that we have come across that we didn't think we would enjoy, perhaps, and we're surprised when we found out we might love them. So yes,
you can do it the other way too. Something that you thought you were really going to like but don't like, but ended up not liking. Well, I know. So the one that came to mind for me was Streets of Rage 3.
Okay.
Because I loved the original Streets of Rage, loved it, and then Streets of Rage 2 was better. Like, how you take a video game that you love and the sequel comes out and it's better. Like, Gearbox should be taking notes. And then Streets of Rage 3 came out and they got rid of my favorite character from Streets of Rage 2. And it just wasn't as much fun. And it's like I owned all three of them, but it's like I played Streets of Rage 3 like once or twice. And it's like, wait a minute, I will get so much more enjoyment out of playing my side-scrolling beat-em-up if I just play Streets of Rage 2. So I did. And I don't think I ever touched Streets of Rage 3 ever again after that point. So there's an example of the opposite one. Ken, my thing that I didn't think that I'd like that I ended up liking, I don't like Firefly the series, but I do like the Serenity movie.
That is very absurd.
See, I was kinder in my response.
Unusual. Yeah, that's unusual to say. That's my least offensive thing I can say. That's an unusual.
No, I agree. It's the minority opinion. It's weird. I admit, but yeah, I was not a fan of the series. But in a one-shot, self-contained episode like that, it's a fine. I watched it again. Like 3 weeks ago. The Serenity movie is a fun little movie.
What? Okay, people are welcome to their own opinions. That bells my brain, though, man.
You can tell me I'm wrong. It's okay. I've been wrong about lots of things.
You're genuinely entitled to your own opinion. It's just very confusing to me, is all.
Yeah, no,
I can't defend. I can't defend it. It's just.
Yeah, no. Well, what don't you like about the series? I'm genuinely curious. What don't you like about Firefly?
I think the problem was I was in one of my contrarian phases when I became aware of Firefly the first time, and everybody gushed about it. And then I started watching it, and I think I probably went, well, I can see where people would like it, but I don't think it's worth gushing that much over.
Mm-hmm. So it's funny you mentioned this contrarian phase, because I frequently experienced this when I shouldn't. Like, generally speaking, if somebody suggests, especially music, I'm really bad with it with music. If somebody suggests music to me, I'll be like, man, I'm going to hate this. I've already decided. I've already made a decision. I'm just like, I'm going to hate this. Just for no reason, and it's so douchey, and I don't know why I have this inbuilt bias within me that makes me dislike anything I'm recommended, especially music. But I find this with other stuff as well. I have to make an active, conscious effort to overcome it and say I'm sure it'll be fine, even though I like all of my what I want to do is just never try whatever they've now recommended. I'll actively avoid it if
I don't know about you, Ken, but. When these things happen, it's usually people whose opinions I trust.
Yeah, right?
Huh,
people who have actively shown me stuff before, and it's been good.
Oh.
And I'm like...
Yeah, if anybody ever uses the phrase, you gotta.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like a natural, like...
That is an instant... That's an instant, like, oh man, now I'm almost required to not like this.
So yeah, that's a weird thing, right? But no, that's a weird thing, because I know more and more people who respond that way, that are contrarian, right, about a lot of things. That don't like to be pulled into the mass joy of something when other people are doing, or the hype, right? They hear the hype and they are suspect. I feel that way about a lot of anime. There's a lot of anime that, and a lot of it's because I know certain fandoms and groups around it that I feel like get over the top with their joy and anticipation and fan. And so it's, to me, takes away. It's like, whoa, you guys are a little too much.
Yeah.
And so I often would like wait to watch anime, and by the time I would, it'd be, oh yeah, this is actually really great, and why did I take so long to give it a shot?
Now nobody else wants to talk about it or experience it with me because they've already been there, done that.
Well, and I've done the same thing with games a lot, where I'm still playing this game and everyone's like, oh my God. I'm just like, no. Or it's often, I'll make the excuse, right? I don't own any modern consoles outside of my Xbox Series S. So, or not Series S, sorry, the Xbox One S. And I refuse to buy a new console. I'm above that. I'm a PC gamer, stuff like that. And so if they were smart, they would just come out on PC and then I would play it. So I express those kind of views and stuff. And yet I found myself like with Cyberpunk saying, screw it, I'm going to jump on the hype train. Not to jump on the hype train, but it's coming out. I'm going to buy it now because I think it does look cool and I'm enjoying the heck out of it.
I generally find I have a lot more fun if I actually let myself get into the hype. Like, there's a lot of things that become fun because of the hype, and you're part of that community as well. I mean, I'm sure we've also experienced that phenomenon, right?
Yep.
I can't think of any ideas coming to any. Witcher 3 was a good one, actually. I love Witcher 1 and 2, unlike many people out there who just played Witcher 3, like my wife, for example. She's only played the third one. I played 1 and 2 and loved them. And so when 3 was coming out, I was super excited. I was like, this is going to be such a great game. I'm really excited for this. And it was nice to see other people going crazy online about it as well. That was such a satisfying experience.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say Burning Crusade.
Oh, yeah.
Being at the midnight, being at a GameStop for the midnight release of the Burning Crusade and being like, yep, we've got work tomorrow. Because John Paul and I, or Durignac and I, we were there. We both got it. He had his laptop with him, so we got our box copy of the game. We went to my place. We put the CD in. We started downloading, and we were, as close to among the first people in the world post-launch. As fast as my internet connection would allow at the time, and sure,
I was there for that, man. I was at EU servers, to be fair, but I was there for that. I remember I had the pre-order, so I had like the version of it beforehand. I was sitting there 11:58, like 2 minutes before launch at midnight. I don't know if that was the local time or what, but I remember my mom came in. I was like 13, 14, 15, I can't recall. But like, she was like, keep it down. Why are you being so noisy? It's so late. And I was like, shut up. It's launching in like 2 minutes. Like, let me enjoy this. I'm so mad at her.
Let me have this moment.
Yeah, let me enjoy this. I'm going to remember this the rest of my life. And I did, damn it.
Yeah. Well, so no, I get a lot of that from live sports.
Okay.
That's a good point, actually. It's something I never experienced.
Yeah, no, if you get a chance to watch a sporting event live from the arena, absolutely worth doing. Once.
Much better in person.
It doesn't have to be a sport that you have to at least be passively interested in.
Sure.
So, for example, I got to see Chris Carter's 100th touchdown catch. Back when 100 touchdown catches was like a big milestone.
Yeah.
Really a great play too. Like really. Just demonstrated the quality of a player he was. I got to see Giannis Antetokounmpo get a triple-double, which is 3 double figures in 3 statistical categories, in this case points, rebounds, and assists, which was awesome. He is the most impressive. He is the most impressive athlete I have ever seen, and I saw Shaq when Shaq was young.
Oh, nice.
Shaq would score 40 points against a team, and it was all on dunks. Because he could
I
shoot.
literally only learned like last year that Shaq isn't just an actor.
Oh, that must have been enlightening. Wow, that guy.
He's a basketball player And as an actor, he's a basketball player.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what?
There's an interesting revelation. Well, and Todd, I get what you're saying about that kind of experience because for me, it was Sebastian Loeb, I think, when I was at Pikes Peak Hill Climb, watching him set the record, and I'm in the record video. My friend and I are on the sidelines cheering as he flies by at a ridiculous speed, and I can find the frame of me just sitting there going like, ah, and being there as he set a record that at the time was like a minute 40 something quicker than anything previous. Yeah, there is something about being on it when things happen. And that's why, but that's where it's weird, right? Do we think maybe that we've all been burned at some point so bad by one of those kind of hype trains or things that led up to that's made us all more cautious?
Sure.
Legend brings up the fact that he was at the midnight release launch of Final Fantasy 13 and he regrets that.
Eight, the worst
Yeah, that came directly after
video
7.
game of all time. Like Final Fantasy 8 is one of those times where like we had the perfect video game, well, very nearly the perfect video game in Final Fantasy 7, and they followed it up with junctioning and draw mechanics. Like, what did you do with the best video game of all time? And can I have it back, please?
I actually just thought of a fairly recent version of this event. Star Trek Picard, the new Picard series.
Oh, okay.
I remember last year I was so excited for that because I finished watching TNG like a year and a half ago for the first time. Yeah. And I was like, man, I love Picard. Like I told you before how he like introduced me to Stoic philosophy, and I admired him, and I loved the actor, and I loved the series and how it was all more about the ideas rather than action. And I thought it was just so unique for sci-fi to be so philosophical, and it was just amazing, just perfect. Apart from season 1, maybe, and the terrible episodes that were in a couple of those in that season.
TNG does take a while to get going.
Yeah. So I was so pumped for Picard. I was like, oh my god! And apparently, the Jean-Luc's going to be like the main thing in this series, and it's just going to be him philosophizing, and it's going to be like a futuristic version of it, like in modern era, in terms of the graphics and the. And no, it's just this really is modern era in the sense that it's just an action sci-fi. It's nothing more, and it's just some old man getting chased around and chasing things around, and there's no thought process behind it. There's not really any. There's a plot. But it's not as if he's like making decisions that are based on his morality and challenging him. Not at all. It is literally just some old guy doing some action.
But Ken, like the Romulan fleet or something.
I actually liked Picard, so that's interesting. I enjoyed Picard.
It was fine.
Oh, that's it. I'm not going to say it's like. Well, so that's what I think leads to kind of the conversation, though. Is it less than you hoped because of your own built-up hype? Or possibly because it was actually poorly done. And that's the thing I think is the challenge to the hype, where it's the risk-reward part of it, right? Because in the same way we were talking about when something hits on the hype, the ride and kind of the level that it continues, where you've built up this level of joy and experience you want to have, and it pays off, that feels awesome, right? That you're just like, yep, and yep, and yep. And it's a sports analogy. Your team gets to the playoffs, gets to the game, right? Gets to the show, and wins. What bigger, like, hype, ride, payoff experience is there than that kind of thing? And so in the
hype fandom,
right? And so in the same way, your team gets to the playoffs, they think they've been on such a beautiful like experience getting up there and get crushed and thrown out, right? And then what do you feel? You're like, oh, I mean, come on, right? And so in a similar way, I wonder because are we allowing ourselves the risk of a greater payoff of joy? While that risk of a bigger payoff of, depressment or like of feeling bad about the situation if it doesn't live up, do we do it to ourselves?
I think yes, absolutely, we do it to ourselves.
And it's a gamble, right? I mean, you're putting down a bet of excitement, and the more of a bet you put down, the potentially higher payoff because you'll enjoy it more when it comes, or potential more of a loss because if it's not very good, you'll feel worse.
Yeah.
So we're at the top of the hour, so we need to take our break. But before we go, I want to plant the seed for this because I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. So if you have not seen the end of season 2 of Mandalorian, when we come back from the break, I'm going to give you a spoiler warning, and then you're going to have to turn the sound off for a while, and we'll I'll do the Team America World Police.
I need to refine my spoiler ticker tape that I had before to put on. I need to get a new version of that.
Because I want to talk about both sides of that in like one fell swoop. Because we're just like a year out from Rise of Skywalker. Right?
Yes.
And 3 years out from The Last Jedi. And I want to talk about that.
Well, so that is actually a thing that will fit the theme, I believe, going into this. So we're going to take a break. When we first come back, we'll catch up on a couple of emails that have come in that I have some length, because one has warned me to be length and the other's Ionis. And so we will see what that comes through. I'll try to knock those out right after the break. And then we'll get into some more of the things that we were kind of surprised by this year that we either love or hate. As we will come back to talk a little bit about Mandalorian. So with that, you are watching us here on Show X on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you choose to find us. Hopefully, if you are watching us somewhere else and want to jump into the chat, check us out on Twitch. That's probably the easiest way to get involved, although I do try to keep track of what's going on in the Facebook chats as well. So with that, we'll be back right after this. I am playing a song for OC Remix that's actually based on Shadowrun, because I feel like it's in theme, called Running the Cyberpunks. Now, I'm not playing the whole song, because the whole song is like 7.5 minutes long. So we'll be back in like 3-ish minutes after this, as I will actually get myself a drink this time. But with that, we'll be back right after this for more of the discussion.
to Show X on btwproductions.com.
Everybody, and welcome back. Alrighty, so hopefully a little bit of pump coming off of the cyberpunk theme there. So we'll go from that.
I really like that song, by the way. I was dancing around my flat when that was on.
Yeah, no, it had a good beat to it. I like that one. Well, thank you, OC Remix, and thank you to all the content creators there who do such a great job, giving us something to beat to that is mostly rights free because it's all remixes of other stuff. All right.
By the way, totally unrelated. Will not be a white Christmas on Hoth this year, and I am a little bit sad about it, to be honest.
Is there global warming on Hoth?
Well, I mean, there's global warming everywhere on this globe, but no snow in Oslo yet. So a little bit sad about it.
We're having snow, I want to say, where it's going to be snowing potentially on Wednesday. So it's not likely to snow on Christmas, which, I mean, cliche or not, I like to take the joy of when it happens. But it's going to be snow will have fallen, I would say, in time for it. All right, so I have emails to read. The first one is going to be cool. Okay, not what I expected. The first one is going to be an email giving us a bit of a Geek Cred update from our friend Legend Tinker. So this coming to us from John says, Dear Show X, have you ever dreamt of wireless VR with full graphics capabilities? To the extent of modern day computers. Well, look no further, because it's finally here. But a word of caution. It's still evolving, meaning it's not perfect, but damn is it playable. This past week, I bought an Oculus Quest 2 and began experimenting using the app Virtual Desktop to play Rift S and Steam VR titles wirelessly from my PC. I didn't know this capability existed until Wayne told me that it was already out there. Yes, I'm blaming Wayne for all of this. You're welcome. But once he did, I knew I had to make it work. So what's involved? First, and this is perhaps the most important thing, you can do for yourself to make this work. Get a brand new Wi-Fi router that is Wi-Fi 6 certified. I tried it initially on my gaming router that's a few years old now, and the latency was so bad that Beat Saber hiccuped frequently, and any other higher-end games were simply unplayable due to the latency and network hiccups. I'll not go into what Wi-Fi 6 is, you can read up on that yourself, but let's say the technology is a massive bump in Wi-Fi capability that your Quest 2 needs to play Rift S and Steam VR wirelessly. Also, put your Wi-Fi 6 router as close to where you'll be playing VR to get the absolute best latency you can. Second, when you finish going through the setup of Virtual Desktop, don't try to increase the streaming quality settings in the app. Even with a brand new mid-range Wi-Fi 6 router right next to it, changing FPS, bitrate, or any other quality settings introduce latency that on high-end games cause severe stuttering. Final note of caution, Virtual Desktop uses between 1.5 to 2 gigs of video memory. So if you want to, for instance, play Half-Life Alyx wirelessly at maximum graphics, and your video card only has, say, 8 gigs of video memory, you won't be able to do it. You can trust us, or you can try, but trust me, it's unplayable that way. 10 gigs or more is ideal. Barring that, the link cable is a worthy investment until you can snag an RTX 3080, 3090, or the rumored upcoming 3080 Ti. Sorry for the long email. I hope your voice isn't hoarse after this. P.S. I don't think you need to sideload Virtual Desktop anymore. It seems to be fully supported by Quest 2, which is awesome because they said they would be doing that. And I will say thank you to John because I got the opportunity on Friday to go check it out. I did tell him about it and was like, hey, you can now do full wireless with the Quest 2, like full wireless. And he was loving it. And so I got to check it out. I checked out Beat Saber, Space Pirate Trainer, and it plays great. And to be completely untethered from cables and still get the full PC VR experience, not just the, not dumbed down, but the constrained version you get on the regular Quest because of its graphical capabilities, it's really cool. And that's where I said, like, thankfully, I guess, I bought this big video card because I otherwise was going to essentially do the same thing, and having actually got eyes on was going to buy the Quest 2. It is such an upgrade from my original Rift 1 that I'm all about it. So yeah, that was cool. So the second email, oh wow, surprisingly about the same or less link from Ionis. And I have a video I could share, but we'll see about the playing of it. It's just it is really good. Things that amuse me.
Sorry,
So here,
sorry, I had to disappear for a second there, guys. I had a phone call from Kitten, and she's like traveling, so I was like, oh crap, what's going on? She knows I'm on the show. What's going on? And so I was trying to get back in touch with her because I had a missed call, and she eventually messaged saying, yeah, just letting you know I'm at the airport. I'm like, well, why did you call me, you fanny? I think there's something major wrong. Like, Jesus, I was like getting ready to do I need to go rent a car? Do I need to go get her?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I understand.
Like,
it's you were there for crisis if needed. No, it makes sense.
That's why I was like, I gotta go now.
Yep. No, I understand. No, so. Yeah, no, thank you, John, for sharing your getting the Quest 2 and some of the... And there's a ton of videos out there for people. If you want to have a truly wireless VR experience, to check it out. Wi-Fi 6 is just good for all new things. Newer phones are coming out with it. It's higher bandwidth, go figure. Lower distance because it's, as always, higher frequency radio waves, which can't permeate things as well. But if you're in the rooms with it, if you're close to it, you have heck of bandwidth. Basically it goes up from, on the wireless on this one, from the sense of like 800 megabit, I think you'd max on Wi-Fi 5, to somewhere over 1200 megabit, which is what you need, that extra 400 or more to really get a clean VR experience, Wi-Fi. But that's the thing. It's also not just that it's a Quest 2, which is Wi-Fi by itself. He's streaming the PC full graphics versions of games wirelessly through his network to the Quest 2 as an HMD, just as a display. And that's the slick part, because being completely untethered but still playing full-on games. And that's what's really cool. All right. Email now in from Ionis that's on topic saying, things that amuse me, 1. Which makes me wonder if a 2 is coming. It says, from Ionis, I'm going to go out and say it. I like this new World of Warcraft expansion. It is brutal in the way it gives away loot compared to the previous purple fountains, and I, for once, hope it will stay that way. In parens, it won't, because it's Blizzard, and they will have their 2.4 sooner or later. For now, however, I'm still enjoying quite a lot. Lack of gear has a very direct translation of the difficulty of the raid fights, and you may disbelieve me, but someone at Blizzard got the right idea how to start this expansion. Getting an upgrade feels great again, not because they're hard to get, but because you have to fight for every single one of them. As for my guild, with 1 3-hour window per week, we got 3 of 10 normal, which, while not great, seems appropriate for a guild of medium-skilled players wearing something underwhelming or somewhat underwhelming gear. All in all, every victory feels like it was earned with skill, not welfare epics, and the feeling is great. On the other hand, Cyberpunk 2077 is a gift that keeps on giving. I'm glad all those YouTubers can make 11-minute videos spending 5 minutes recapping everything about the game, 2 minutes promoting their sponsor, 3 minutes reading websites, and 1 minute saying what they think about it.
Yep, that's so accurate, by the way.
CD Projekt gives the best gift for Christmas for dozens of hard-working professionals, news regurgitators, saying that, yeah, the game has a lot of issues. Yeah, it shouldn't be released in this state on PS4, Xbox One. No, I don't defend CDP. I'm just glad my newsfeed is overrun by the newest updates on Cyberpunk 2077 technical shortcomings. I'd rather have this than the same newsfeed being full of stories about pop culture critics saying something galactically stupid about the game. That is all from Ionis. So, thank you both for your emails. We love when you guys participate and give us more to discuss.
Yep.
Absolutely. Love it, love it, love it. So thank you for that.
Much appreciate, yeah.
Right. So here is your... I think we can start it a little bit without spoilers.
Yeah, we can.
And because I put this one, and it actually was teasing my mind as the category of things I was not expecting to love. And I say this because kind of, Todd, as you brought up and what got in my head was what we were coming off of, right? And how I have felt such myself a roller coaster of experience with Star Wars ever since the final trilogy started. And where I am of the rare breed where I actually really enjoyed the first 7. I enjoyed it. I thought, yes, it was a recap, but in a way that I hoped was a sign of better things to come. Like just a reset from the prequels. And so I was on board for that. And it was me projecting, hoping. 8 hit, not a fan. Talked about many ways. Took away a lot of my thought that we were going to get a wonderful thing. And 9 hit, and I enjoyed it, but I also felt like it was this massive, like, duct tape of how do we bring it back from what 8 did to the potential continuity of story.
Yeah, I think I made this comparison when we had this Star Wars, the big double episode.
Yeah.
For Star Wars, but it was, to me, it was like J.J. Abrams and the Star Wars story continuity Supreme Soviet going, all right, F you, we'll give you a Sith Lord.
Yeah.
In the same way that Alien Covenant was, all right, F you, we'll give you xenomorphs.
Gotcha.
Because everybody who watched Prometheus was complaining there's no xenomorphs. Right? Well, everybody after The Last Jedi, not everybody, only me, was like, there's no bad guy in this trilogy because there's no Sith Lord.
Oh no! As soon as they did, the 8 killed the bad guy. I agreed. I didn't need to be Sith, but there was no bad guy. And so the challenge, we were left after that with this big kind of back and forth over where is Star Wars going. It's under the Disney mantle. They've said all these things that they were going to be making, and they come to truth today. We know they have a lot of projects going. Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar. Holy cow, the announcements they came out last week with all the IP they're working on. So they're definitely doing stuff. But it was that trepidation for me, at least, of coming into a series where it's like, you're going to talk about Mandalorians, I guess. Okay, but all we've ever had is Boba Fett. And I still say, because even in the prequels, right, all we get is clones and stuff, and you find out Boba Fett's a clone, and you're like, okay, now I don't know how I feel about that. And because Boba Fett, we all know, was the most overrated character based on actual action in film, but had some of the greatest potential lore around him, or just ideas of what he could have been, because he looked cool.
Yep.
And you're going to do something with that. Is it going to work, right? Just like, and I went into the series like, I'm expecting to be disappointed. I really am, because I don't know how they're going to translate Star Wars to a live action good. Like, I knew the animated had been mostly good as a series, but I was
I've
like,
heard lots of good things.
How can you do that to a live action, right? Live action takes so much more effort, or different effort, to do. And for me,
I think more effort's pretty fair.
Well, it's something, right? Because I know animated still takes a ton of work, but
of course, but it's not as much as getting people in the same room, right?
And for a show or a movie like this that's so effect heavy.
I'm sorry, Ken, and spoiler alert for everybody out there. I think it takes far less work to draw Ahsoka Tano than it is to get Rosario Dawson into her Ahsoka Tano outfit.
And admittedly on a digital thing, once you've created the characters, like all the newer ones that are actually CG, you have the assets. Then it's just animating them.
Fair.
And a lot of that's AI routine now. There's a lot you can do to minimize the actual production cost, essentially, and time. But, so the series hit, and I'll turn it over to you, Todd, here in a second. Even from the first season, I was kind of surprised because, and I said it to someone recently, one, it's being held in good hands right now, right? I feel like the people creating are the right people for it. That
Filoni and Jon Favreau, absolutely.
Man, woo, thank you for fans having the resources of Disney to actually make something good. And for me, it started out where I just was not sure, because what are you going to get out of a Mandalorian? I know people are all sick over it, and I'm just kind of like, man, it looks cool. But I have to say, I've been so pleasantly surprised, like more than surprised. I've been impressed, and it's built. For me, it has started interesting and okay, and it's gone to like amazing to me. And especially the last 3 episodes. The last 3 episodes are gasm to a degree for me. But for me, it hit me on the first season when the one that made me like perk up was the IG robot. How they depicted the assassin droid in the first season.
Yep.
That stood out to me from everything else that was being done.
Yes.
Well, because I'd read like the book about the various droid planet and everything, and how IG, and you got to think, if a purpose-built droid for killing and doing stuff, how it would perform. And they finally gave that to me, because gosh, if the prequels didn't kill droids for me. Because droidicons were okay-ish, and the freaking Ebit droids, right, the, double speak everything battle droids were just...
There's no reason why the Separatist Alliance should have been in a war with the Galactic Republic for more than about 6 weeks.
They had nothing
because the droids are morons.
Yeah, not just they can't
The droids
shoot.
suck.
The AI routines are screwed up. They got the most bargain basement. We paid for this lowest cost out of the. We didn't realize there were programmers on Endor, but apparently they have a few, and they don't charge much of anything. You give them some like baubles and a little bit of like scratcher. They don't even need credits. But man, did they give us this AI for our droids?
Acorns. Like we bought the AI for these battle droids, and we paid in acorns.
Because it's so bad, right?
And all the droids do is dance around and shout "yum yum" and fire their blasters in random directions, and somehow we're winning battles.
Well, because they do the numbers game, right? You can put enough of them out there, they might shoot something.
That's right. You shoot in all directions at once.
Right. So, Death Blossom droid style. So, anyhow, to you, Todd, about Mandalorian, because I don't want to fully diatribe into just all Star Wars, because we've done that and can. Easy. I mean, I don't work tomorrow, but
so
hey.
I'm gonna go much more focused. It has the Mandalorian, but it's much more focused.
Okay, no, and that's why I want to send to you. And please just let people know when a spoiler hits, or when we're about to.
Okay. So starting now up until the point where I do the Team America World Police in duress hand signal. So, okay.
Yes.
Luke Skywalker is the most powerful Jedi ever. Right?
Yeah.
Certainly the most powerful Jedi in the Disney verse. Yeah?
Yes.
And the sequel movies turned him into a chump. And I was very sad. I was so disappointed that the most powerful Jedi master ever had become a feeble, old, weak shell of his former self. And then we got what Luke Skywalker should have looked like.
So
in the sequel movies at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and it was only for 5 minutes, but an X-Wing flies in, again, massive spoilers for anybody who's watching. This X-Wing shows up.
X-Wing.
It's like, it's an X-Wing fighter. And I went, oh, that's it. And I went, oh, that's Ahsoka. Like, Ahsoka's going to show up and do Jedi things. And then my mind got working. Yeah? And it's like, wait, Ahsoka Tano doesn't have an X-Wing. She was never a part of the Rebel Alliance. She toddled off before Order 66. So she's alive, but for episodes 4, 5, and 6, but she's not part of the Rebel Alliance. She's not anywhere having anything to do with the fight of the rebellion in the Empire. So she doesn't have an X-Wing, so it can't be her. It's like, oh, I know who. And then I was like, there's no way they're putting Luke Skywalker in this, like, space western film. Like, Ahsoka Tano was kind of nice, and you can do it because she's not anywhere in the story after Clone Wars, right? She's not in episode 2 or episode 3. She's not in 4, 5, and 6. Like, you can just drop her in and sort of name drop her and she's still alive, but whatever. No. X-Wing lands. Person comes out. Black robe, cowl pulled up, glove over the right hand, green lightsaber. And when it's Luke, and then I got goosebumps because it's Luke effing.
I love that feeling, man. I love that feeling of goosebumps.
Skywalker did Luke effing Skywalker things for 5 minutes, and he goes through the super powered up battle droids and just cuts them all down. And then he makes it onto the bridge, and the Mandalorians are there, and everybody's got their guns pointed, right? He pulls back its cowl, and you betcha it is Luke effing Skywalker. And I almost lost my composure. I had welled up because this is what Luke Skywalker is supposed to be, right? And I won't say anything more about the storyline after that. So here's the Team America World Police stuff. But I was so sad and so disappointed, and my expectations were so ruined for what Luke Skywalker's character could have been and was chosen not to be in the sequel movies, to have then realized, well, they've turned him into a chump. They're never going to use him again. And for Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau to pull him into their series and make him what he should have been through the 3 films was just, oh.
So,
like I said,
would you say that was that wasn't an expectation? That was an expectation subverted almost, right? Like you were not expecting that whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, it started off when I started off, right? I mean, at the end of episode 6, Luke Skywalker is the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy, as far as we all know, right? Episode 7, we don't see him at all, but he's in seclusion, so he's studying. This is my thought process, right? Oh, he's gone into seclusion. He's felt the rise of the dark side of the Force elsewhere in the galaxy because he's so damn powerful. And he's decided to go find the first Jedi temple that probably has a light side Force nexus next to it so he can really study the Force, right? And become even more powerful. And he's going to teach somebody, you know, and what would it be like if Master Yoda taught you for like 400 years, right? Because that could have been. And then when we finally did see him and see what he could be, he was just a chump, a loser, essentially. And so, like at that point, I had an expectation. It was totally disappointed. I reset my expectation, right, to be, well, Luke Skywalker's just a chump. Okay. And then I have now so seeing him again at the end of Mandalorian reset my expectations again. And they're now back to where they should be, knowing full well that 7, 8, and 9, he's a chump. So I think it's both. I thought I would like Luke Skywalker's character in episode 7, 8, and 9, and I didn't. And then I didn't expect to see him in The Mandalorian. And not only was that expectation sort of smashed, but my expectation of what the character was going to be in 7, 8, and 9 was met.
Okay, that's interesting. Do you think the people who are in charge of the writing for the Star Wars canon in general are the same? I'm genuinely asking this. I don't know. Are they the same across the films as they are for the Mandalorian? No, okay.
Well, so I'm not sure, right? I don't know how the Star Wars continuity Supreme Soviet works, right? Because they have this sort of continuity board supposedly.
Well, but it's a board, right? It's a theme, an idea. The challenge is the details that break or make.
A board is in like a
group of people.
Gotcha. Yes, a group of people. Not like a storyboard. I wish it was like that because it would have been better.
So the challenge, right? Okay, yes. For anyone who hasn't seen it, I'm sorry, but hopefully keep up. This Mandalorian to me has regained the hope I have for Disney to be able to produce a meaningful amount of content and story in the Star Wars universe. That it is proven to me that when given in the hands of people who care, they actually can create good storytelling. And like Todd's saying, they gave us more of what we wanted I would argue, out of the last trilogy in like a single season, if not just maybe even I do argue like 3 episodes.
So, like those 3 episodes.
The last 3 episodes of season 2 were better than episodes 7, 8, and 9.
8, 9. Yeah.
So there's a lot of like TV series and that are sort of like connected these days. Like you think about Iron Fist, right, and Jessica Jones and all that. They're all connected, right?
Yeah,
and,
the whole Defender series part.
And Shield and so on. Yeah, all that stuff is like a thing these days where you have connected movies and TV shows and so on. And one of the things that they seem to do when they want to try and revive one of the failing or struggling or just whatever, like subsects of that, is that they'll bring in some of the major characters. They'll have an Iron Man show up or Superman.
Yeah, they cross-pollinate, right? Yeah.
So do you think that's kind of what they're doing here? Do you think that the Mandalorian wasn't doing good enough and that's why they're doing this?
No. Mandalorian was doing solid. Even not doing the last 3. I'm just saying the last 3 episodes ramped it up where I enjoyed all of season 1. More and less in certain levels, and it gave me lore I'd never had. It is the first time outside of any book that really has explored what the Mandalorian culture can be. And for those people, the other thing they've done, which I can't stand when groups don't, is they're doing fan service, but in a protected, coherent, good way that matches canon, right? Because bringing back Ahsoka, bringing back other characters, like even just the baddie, right, of was Gideon, right? That the characters and who they're talking about and what they're talking about in the world, the things that Ahsoka is doing while it crosses into the Mandalorian match with the canon that came out of Clone Wars and Rebels. And so they are doing the thing where we know people who actually got what's good and is still supposedly canon, that people love these things and we're going to reach into it. Where the movies seem to say, we're going to kill everything that was Star Wars and just use this palette of the world to create stories. Mandalorian said, no, there's a lot of really damn good stories in the Star Wars universe that have existed through books and other media. Why not include and embrace them? I don't know.
It's so tough to bring all that stuff in.
So it's funny because
when they've done this purge, though, right? Like did they do that purge where they removed a lot of the?
It became the whatever legends. Yeah, like good stories that existed around it, but are just stories. But essentially, as we're talking about with Favreau and everyone working on this one, there's a meme going around recently where it says, like, from JJ, kind of like, oh, we can't do all these things and satisfy the old fans in Star Wars and still get new fans in. And the Favreau picture saying, hold my beer. Because he is creating something that anyone who loves Star Wars and knows history can enjoy because it fits. And yet he's doing it in a way that people who know nothing about the extended world of Star Wars can enjoy what's happening. It's called good storytelling. And it just has depth because there's more to reference.
And that's the thing. These characters showing up the way they do, at least to me, and again, I'm, I've been a lifelong Star Wars fan, so take this with a grain of salt, everybody. But they make sense.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they did a great job of setting it up. It's like, oh, the baby looks like Yoda. Great. Oh, the baby that looks like Yoda's a Force user.
Okay, we can accept that maybe that race is like, okay.
Okay, so maybe the entire race is strong in the Force. We don't know. Right, because the only of that race that we've ever seen is Yoda.
Yeah.
So what's the Mandalorian gonna do? He's got to find another Force user.
Well, and I love how they presented it, right? It was actually a call out, essentially, for a Force user. So yeah.
So he goes to one Force user, right? And one that we know is still living. Like, that was the other thing about it. Like, it was just Bob. Like Bob, the 7th worst Jedi, who just by accident.
I thought they could have. They could have just introduced, right, other characters and things that could have been.
Sure, they could have, but I'm totally okay with somebody that we know is alive.
I love what they did.
Time. Yeah, I was gonna say, me too. I almost cried. In fact, it was so good. But anyway,
and I got to give a shout out to Legend and Mika.
I really don't want to spend a half hour talking about the Mandalorian, but it's just one of those. It's one of those.
I don't have a problem with talking about that.
Well, I mean, it is so good, right? It is so good.
Yeah.
That's really the caveat or the thing above all this, regardless of why it's so good in the sense of the specific plot points and story and characters. It's so good, and it gives me, and again, it gives me hope that we're going to see more quality along this lines come from those studios, especially knowing, and I won't spoil this in a way anything meaningful, other than watch the season finale and watch all the way through the credits. But they are showing us that more is coming along these lines. And if you watch the announcements from Disney that we didn't talk about last week, we see that there is a whole, like, what's surprising to me is the number of IP associated with Star Wars, or shows and movies and such, on the roadmap was, to me, from what I saw, the same as the Marvel. Like, there is as much content coming out for Star Wars as Disney has planned for Marvel, if that says anything about their commitment. And
well,
based
that's no
off,
surprise. I mean, having the IP costs so much money to own. You know, they want to milk it for every... And you know what? The truth is, they can just do generic movies that will make money like they have done because they have the Star Wars name. But the truth is, they'll make more money if they do it with quality.
And I have more hope. I have more hope. Rogue
Me
Squadron
too.
looks like it'll be great. You know, just hoping, right? The series Rogue Squadron, or wait, no, the movie. Sorry, the new movie coming out. That's Rogue Squadron.
There's going to be a Rogue Squadron movie?
Yes. And it's handled. What is it? The gal that did Wonder Woman, I think, is the one who's doing it or something, and some other people attached to it. That looks really solid.
That's fine.
There's enough things looking at it that's like
There was a criminal lack of Wedge Antilles in episode 7, 8, and 9. So if Wedge is going to get his own TV show, maybe that's more forgivable than it was 3 years ago.
Thank goodness for the game Squadrons, where they actually got to like call out to some of the famous pilots and stuff in Squadrons.
Yeah, no kidding.
Anyhow, so yes, so thank you all for indulging in our little bit of a conversation there about Mandalorian since it's present. And
I think a lot of our viewers have watched and enjoyed Mandalorian, so I think it's a good thing for us to talk about.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's something I didn't think I'd enjoy. I enjoyed and am all in now on it. Like, yeah, give me more. And that little bit of like, maybe Disney can do good.
I have to just tie this off. This is my topic that I'm going to be focused on for the foreseeable future until it fixes itself. But do you remember when the Hollywood media came up with this idea of brand fatigue?
Ish.
No.
It was right after Solo bombed, and they were in like Variety and the Hollywood Insider, Hollywood Reporter, and a couple other places like, well, of course Solo bombed. Like it was 2 Star Wars movies in 7 months, and you can't possibly do that. Meanwhile, Marvel had like 22 films in 15 years or something like that, and it's just like, wait, we've been watching Marvel films every 8 months for a decade. Like, what do you mean brand fatigue? Like, everybody stayed home for Solo because Episode 8 was garbage. Nobody's willing to say that, but that's the reason.
I actually liked Solo, but yeah, I didn't see it. Did I? I don't think I saw it in the theater though. But
I didn't. I just refused.
I still haven't seen it. Yeah, I've not been particularly interested.
I'm one of the weird ones who liked Solo, where I thought like this is actually a decent Solo story of the character and the casting. Did it have some things that were meh? Yes, but having come off of 8, I was like, this is actually kind of fun and way more in line with canon than anything else that's been coming out, in the sense that they paid homage to like all the things you heard. You know, a Wookiee pulling the arms off someone.
Maybe the money people at Disney are smarter than we all think. Because haven't your expectations for anything with the Star Wars branding on it totally been reset? Because the films were 7, 8, 9 were so bad.
No, so I will give credit for the real money, right? The merchandise. That their merch has actually been pretty solid since the release of the newer stuff. Dude,
Okay,
so much
so,
money
like-
comes from merchandise because kids and money spent.
Okay, so
so
I know back in
much
the
money.
90s that was the thing. I know that was
Still-
a major thing, toys and everything. But,
Most cartoons
now
exist
Toys R Us
for
is
merchandise. Well, yeah, but most toys are what make cartoons viable. The only reason you still get most cartoons and things out there for kids is toys.
dead. That's surprising.
No, it's if you look at the actual numbers of where the money happens, the residuals, because the problem with a movie especially, a movie sells you once, maybe twice. Merchandise sells forever. Because once you own the movie or show, you own it. Once you saw it in the theater, you saw it. You maybe see it 3-4 times if it's huge.
Man.
But well, okay, but that's a
Tell
different that's a different thing, right? Because you're actively playing that game, and they're doing the same thing in a way. They're just repackaging and selling it over and over. It's what Disney does with their archive series of putting things in the vault and then letting it come back out every 20 years or so. It's artificially creating.
Nintendo's been doing it for 3 decades.
Yeah, they're kind of specialists.
So
and nobody
as well.
and here's this is another one of those things, right? Nobody ever bags on Nintendo for completely capitulating in the console war. You get a Mario game, a Zelda game, Smash Brothers, Kart, and what am I missing?
you got a few in there, Metroids, Kirby's, and little things like that.
Metroid and Kirby, and like 1 or 2 other games, and everybody who couldn't pronounce Nintendo in the back half of the 1980s wets themselves, right? And so we never bag on the fact that of all the consoles, it's always the least powerful.
Well,
we
because
never bag on it,
but it's also the highest selling and the most profitable. So it's weird because whatever they are doing, they're winning in that sense. But it's weird.
More proof that popular and good are not the same.
Right.
Well, but arguably the gaming experience on it is good. They
allow
could
me to
do
show
more.
you how I bag on it.
But it's so hard.
This is how I bag on it. I have never bought a Nintendo product. I don't own any Mario games. I've never played a Mario game other than a friend's house once ages ago.
Sure.
I've never bought a Nintendo console. I've never been particularly interested.
Here is the problem. There was a period of time when the games were damn good. Well, right?
I will argue
Super Mario RPG is one of the best video games of all time, and there's a reason why that game sells for more on the secondary market than it did in its first run. You can't get a copy of Super Mario RPG now for I think less than $75-$80.
Okay,
or at least that that's what it was going for when I was interested in it. That was Square plus Nintendo making using the Nintendo characters in a Square turn-based RPG. Print money.
Hey, I will say this about Nintendo. I'll give them this one piece of, I guess, support, whatever you want to call it. As I have gone back through, and I need to go spend more. There's a thing I can do with the next 2 weeks off. Spend more time on my retro kick of trying to go through all the Legend of Zelda games, and how not to say how, but am experiencing a lot more Nintendo IP. Totally unrelated. The 3090 should have plenty of power to do things like Vulkan rendering in any kind of emulation software. Totally unrelated. But that when I have played games like the Zelda games, the Zelda version of Dynasty Warriors, the Mario games like Mario Odyssey and such, they're really damn good. I have to go back and say, holy crap, if Nintendo's level designers and just gameplay designers aren't some of the best in the world. They may not have solid fresh idea level new IP, new characters. That may not be a thing that even exists. They fired those people 30 years ago. But
adding a third dimension was the only innovation that they ever did.
Yes.
Well, their consoles are quite innovative in themselves. I mean, come on, the Wii was pretty. The
Wii was shite.
I'm not talking about the quality of the graphics. I'm talking about the innovation.
It wasn't.
New features to
it brought new features that didn't.
Xbox changed the whole interface because of the Wii Mii's or whatever they're called.
The Mii's, yeah.
Okay,
they're MIIs, right? Mii's.
objectively a fair. That's a fair assessment.
They have pushed aspects of the market.
I don't like it. I don't want it to be true, but unfortunately it is.
Okay, I will give them credit. They were on board with virtual, like VR, before VR was VR. That Virtual
VR.
Boy, man, the red lines in the Virtual Boy. That's so serious comic. I know. That's a shout out to the same guy I was talking about, TK, that has the Retro Basement, because he has a Virtual Boy in his archive, and he posted a meme of himself on the couch with the Virtual Boy on his face, saying, "I don't know what all this hype is about VR that you guys keep talking about." And so, shout out TK for that. That was funny as heck.
I was playing VR when it was called Battlezone.
Oh man, yes. So anyhow, it's like
Time Crisis.
But that's actually something else I can throw on my list of things I didn't think I'd enjoy. I've actually sat down and touched Nintendo IP of their new stuff, it's been fun. Like, as much as I want to hate on the console, because damn it, I feel like, as well as what you're alluding to, Todd, they could produce better hardware if they cared to. They could have probably trounced Sony and Microsoft in actual console wars.
But they're not playing that game, though, are they?
And that's where I can't fault them. I can't, because they are the only legitimate mobile gaming system out there outside of your phone. And I have never been able to translate my phone to a gaming peripheral other than Words with Friends, right? Which is not a gaming thing. And so I got to give them credit. They own the market in mobile gaming.
Absolutely true.
Like,
I would not be able to play The Binding of Isaac on an airplane if it wasn't for the Nintendo Switch.
And plus, there's an entire difference in the type of economy that they're going for as well. I mean, if you consider the people who buy, how do Ferrari make money? It's not just because they're making cars are so expensive. It's because they make it with such high quality, and it's a niche market, right? They couldn't survive if they sold their Ferraris for, I don't know, $200, right? They couldn't possibly do it. And it's the same with these guys. PlayStation and Xbox are there for high-end graphics, but all the stuff that Nintendo do, they're there for cheaper consoles, more accessible. Those games that you love, casual.
Not gamers. Cheaper, because a Nintendo Switch costs just as much as a low-end PS5, the discless PS5, and the Series S, whatever, or the Series, whatever the lower of the Series ones is the same cost as a Switch. They're all $300 still.
No. Yeah, but that's you can also think of that as the high tier end of a Switch, though, right? Because there is only one, as far as I'm aware.
Well, there's the Switch, and then there's the Switch Lite, which is the one that doesn't have the removable Joy-Cons, which is, I think, $50 cheaper, maybe $100 cheaper.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, no, the Switch. I forget it's Switch Lite or Switch something, but there's a Switch that you can't take the Joy-Cons off. Yeah. It's a built-in one tablet thing.
Okay.
And
that's cool.
It's cheaper.
No, I still though. The fact that I could play The Binding of Isaac or the original Legend of Zelda or
it's solid.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. Credit and credit where it's due.
Yeah.
I just, in an environment where we bag on every software company every time they have a release that is less than stellar, shall we say? I think we're grading on the wrong kind of curve. I actually have, speaking of The Binding of Isaac, until The Binding of Isaac, I did not think that I would like roguelike games.
Okay.
But I really, really do.
Yeah, you love that game.
Yes, I love Isaac. I liked the Flash version of Isaac, the original version of Isaac from like 2012, the new version, Rebirth, that they did where it was just more of everything because they didn't run out of memory in Flash. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wait, what's the meme? What's the meme? Can I get an F for Flash? Since
yeah. Senile.com out of memory, hit any user to continue. But yeah, Slay the Spire, Monster Train, Risk of Rain. I messed around with Spelunky a little bit. and there's something about, and I think what it is it harkens back to my arcade roots,
Okay.
where you drop in a quarter, you get a few minutes of gameplay, unless a few minutes of gameplay unless you're really good. And then you can get 20, 30 minutes, an hour of gameplay, maybe if you're really, really good. And then the experience is over. You need to drop in another quarter to start the
It again.
thing all over.
Yes.
Yep. And I think the roguelikes really speak to that, to me.
Okay.
And they really touch that part of me that's part of my gaming roots.
I get that.
I guess. And
I totally get that.
Yeah. And so yeah, I mean, I like Isaac most of all, but I'll play all the, there's an iPad version of Slay the Spire that I spent money on. So now I can play Slay the Spire on the iPad whilst I'm hanging out with the Mistress of Giggles before we go to sleep at night. So
nice.
It's been good.
It's
been good.
Very cool.
Yep.
All right. We've been monopolized a lot of this. Ken, are there any other things you've had that have been just like stood out for you as things that you weren't expecting to love but maybe found, or you were hoping to love and found that you didn't?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be video games, does it? It can be anything.
Well, we're just geeking in general, yeah.
Well, I've got a bunch of books I could talk about. I'm not going to go to listen to Where My Pros.
If you'd like to, subtle plug. If you'd like to know more about books and all of Ken's thoughts on it, along with his gal, just check out Where My Pros at every Wednesday night.
6 p.m. EST, 11 p.m. GMT on twitch.tv/Where My Pros at. Do hit subscribe, please. We're not going to be on for the next couple weeks, though, because, we're not going to be together for a couple weeks. So we'll be back in the new year at some point. Anyway, so I've got a bunch of books I could talk about, but I actually wanted to mention something that's very festive and recent.
Okay.
It's a Wonderful Life. Is that the name of the film?
Yeah, it's a classic.
So neither me nor Ken Features had seen that in our entire life. Somehow, both of us have somehow managed to avoid that forever. And this is what we're talking about earlier. This sort of intuition of whenever somebody says that you should watch this, we don't want to watch it. We both experienced that. We've talked about that before. And this film, people have been doing that for our entire life. Oh, you gotta watch this. It's a classic. And we look at it and we're like, it's some old ass film. And I'm like, oh man, it's just gonna be all like churchy. And I was like, I am not into this. It's gonna be just so Christian and angels everywhere and just so on the nose and not even like it's a nostalgia thing, right? That's what I thought. I thought this is gonna be all nostalgia, and I'm not gonna enjoy it because I don't have the nostalgia. I wasn't there when I was a child watching this with my family, so I wouldn't experience that. But we decided, hey, let's just force ourselves to try this. We should watch one Christmas thing together before we split for Christmas. And
wow, and you didn't watch the best Christmas film of all time?
No, we chose to watch it because we felt we had to, right? So we decided to finally try it. This was on Wednesday, and we were both weeping by the end of it. Aww. What an amazing film. We have decided it's our new Christmas film. We're going to watch it every year because it was just like, yeah, there was some sentimental crap in it, right? Of course. There was some overly Christian stuff.
Darn those feels.
There was some racist themes throughout, especially with The Help, but it was honestly not, like, compared to a lot of things from its time, I would say that was probably very progressive for its time, especially considering how nicely they talk about Italians, which it was kind of unexpected for that era. Honestly, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was amazed by how good it was. I said, and for the first time, I think in the majority of my life, I watched a film and said, I would happily put this on again now. I would immediately rewatch this film. It's that good. Yeah. Like, normally for me, if I like a film, I'll be like, oh, I could rewatch that in a year or two, maybe. Yep. Right? But that was the first one that I'd rewatch immediately afterwards.
That's fantastic. Very good.
That's really cool.
Very good.
Nice.
Speaking of festivities.
It is like Christmas and stuff.
Yeah, we have 5 days till Christmas. This is our last show before Christmas. That being said, subscribe to my own personal Twitch channel, Ken Reed VTW, because on Christmas Day, I'm going solo here, as I've mentioned. And I'm going to make the most of this, and I'm going to try and do a stream for all of those who are, be it due to COVID, be it due to losing touch with family, anybody who's alone, or even if they're, with their family, but they're feeling a little bit lonely on Christmas, come join me, twitch.tv/KenReedVTW. I'll do it from, let's just say noon EST. I'm going to start cooking up my Christmas dinner, and I'm going to do it live on air, and I'm going to be playing some traditional Christmas music, fun stuff, dancing around the kitchen. I'm going to have the kitchen decorated. I have a meal plan set. I'll spend some of the time talking to the chat, and we'll
fantastic
recipes and stuff. Other time we'll just listen to music, and it'll be a great thing to have on in the background no matter what you're doing. All right.
Yep.
So please do come join in our little VTW family for Christmas.
Fantastic.
This 25th of December Christmas dinner together.
I will have to stop by at some point, Ken.
Yeah, me too.
I'll pretty much be hanging out here on Christmas, so I will have to make my time to stop by. So awesome.
Cool.
All right, well, shoot, look at that. It's catching us up to the end of the show today. So
indeed,
I think it's time for us to walk our way out of here. I would love to hear from all of you guys. As we talk about, we love our emails. And so if there are things that you saw or feel that you've experienced even just this year or whenever that you either thought you were going to love and found out you didn't, or the vice versa, something that really surprised you because you were nowhere aware of it, or you heard the hype and you're like, whatever, and then you checked it out and you're like, I actually love this.
Back on the old show, I wasn't sure if I loved really long emails from Storm Tamer. Then I took my like 7-year break. And I came back and get really long emails from Ionis, and it turns out I actually kind of like them.
I like the format of people really giving us like well thought out discussions on their opinions and such, and the ability to test my capability of reading and talking out loud at the same time, while mostly catching cadence and pronunciation and not cursing on air when someone slips something in. So I appreciate the challenge. But yeah, please email us to share in the process at vtwshowx@gmail.com so that we can hear from you. We'd love to know the things that you find that you love, that you didn't expect to, but damn it, you love, and the things that maybe caught you off guard where you were so hype and it just did not. Happy to. We love to read your emails on air. So feel free to share in the conversation with us. And with that, Ken, we're going to let you wrap it all up for us before we jump into. I'll be jumping into the Discord after this to chat with whoever wants to show up there. But
yeah,
sure.
I need to touch bases with the Misters of the Giggles.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll probably be
and
there.
then I won't be here next week because I will hopefully be up in mountains trying not to break something, letting gravity draw me down the mountain. But I believe the two of you are going to be on next week.
Yep.
We will. Yep.
All right,
it's going to be good fun.
So we will be here as a show next week as well.
Yeah, we rarely ever miss a show. So you can check us out all over the interwebs. You can check us out. The easiest place to go to, the link is in the chat. It's on the screen right now. You can see the bottom right there. There's a couple of links you want to check out. One is the link tree for ShowX. So the standard link tree format, which is linktr.ee/ShowX. Check out that for all the links for ShowX. That's our Reddit. That's our Instagram. That's our Patreon, that's our Facebook, that's Todd's Facebook, it's our Twitter, it's freaking everything, man. Except for the PayPal donation link, which is down below of this actual screen that you're looking at right now. You can click on that if you want to donate directly. You can also check out where my pro's at with its link tree there, and you can see all the different things around the interwebs for that as well, including our Reddit and so on, and our Goodreads community. So check out all those things. Be sure to listen in on Christmas at noon EST on twitch.tv. Oh, hi Tank. At twitch.tv/KenReedVTW. And that'll be lots of fun. And also check us out next week on the show, as usual, because we're going to be doing our post-Christmas festive show where we're just going to be screwing around, having a good time, maybe playing some games, chatting, shooting the... what's a good way of phrasing that?
Breeze. Shooting the breeze.
Yeah, shooting the breeze. Thank you for aiding my vocabulary, sir.
We're a full service organization.
And thank you guys for the fantastic co-hosting. I love listening to you guys chat about all your passions and the things you're up to. I love it. I love it every week. And thank you all for listening in as well. I love the chat. We love you guys taking part, and we love the emails. Thank you all so much for being fantastic fans. We're looking forward to having another year with you next year, and we will be back next week as well.
All right. So with that, everybody, we are out of here, and we look forward to sharing our time with everyone in the upcoming weeks. Make sure you have a happy holidays, whatever it is you celebrate, and we look forward to seeing you as we start to progress into the new year. And with that, we're out of here, everyone, and a mighty slash salute to everyone out there. We will catch you again next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. See you next zombie. Good night. Awesome.